there are some times where conflict will cause change. And there are some times and occasions in your life whereby stress will cause both change and conflict. If you dig down your life and take some of the relevant examples, you'll come to realize these things works. Whether in your corporate, whether in your institutional life, or whether in your personal life. I'll give you an example. If you are so much scared of the loss that will happen in your legal firm, whether you're a partner or you are alone in that legal firm, and you want to work so hard so that you can really prohibit that circumstance to happen, and you lose time with your kids, lose time with your spouse, no quality time completely, then your relationship comes to suffer. It is a change in your corporate life, in your institutional life, that are starting to create stress within the relationship, within the family. I deal with a lot of cases, psychological issues when it comes to divorce and separations. And I come to realize it was a change in institutional life that is creating stress in the family life. And when it creates stress in the family life, when divorce comes, it is a change in institution creating stress, and that stress creating change. You was a couple, and you become a single. It's a change. It's a change. So these are circumstances that happens in life. You work so hard and you forget to sleep. You go to the doctor, they diagnose you with your cardiovascular diseases or kidney issue. It's a change. Why? Institutional issue, because there's something that you want to work and to make ends meet, and maybe you want to reach a certain goal. You're so much ambitious. I had the question the other time in the morning. Somebody says, show us how to get money first. And you're so much ambition. You really want dollar. To the extent that you forget me time and your wellness, and change happens within you. And you go to the doctor, they diagnose you with your kidney issue, muscle issues. You're admitted. Change creates stress. Change can create conflicts, etc., etc. Okay. Now, I will skip that one. We have two types of stress. We have two types of stress. I'll do that one, then I will. We have two types of stress. Number one, personal stress, and number two, workplace stress. Personal stress are the stress that are originating from the outside door of where you work. Anything that is not corporate, is not institutional, is a personal stress. Workplace stress are everything that is relating to work. Traffic as you're going to work. Workplace stress. Relationship with your partner. Relationship with the people that you work together. The associates. The partners. Relationship with your client. When relationship which is intimate is starting within the institutional or corporate relationship. It's a workplace stress meet personal stress. Now, these are some of the personal stress. Relationship in marital, conflict with friends, debts, financial issues, divorce and separation, loss, and parenting. I'm a professional counselor. Some of you knows that. I get lots, almost 85% of my cases nowadays are parental issues. Why? Because parents don't have time with their kids. Sometimes we see them on Sunday. And parenting are a lot of issues. A lot of issues. How do you manage the workplace stress and the personal stress? This is not so much important, but you need to know. When your body experiences stress, it has 5 responses. You may either faint, fawn, fight, flight, freeze. You might not get faint because you don't have a chronic stress, but maybe the flight and fight, that's a lot of people knows that. Now, let me go to this because I know some of you are coming from different organizations, whether corporate, whether government, and you have organizations. Some of you have your own institutions, your own legal firms. How will you know that this organization is struggling with stress? How will you know that the place that I work struggles or suffers stress? Number one, increase of arguments, higher staff run, turnover, more reports of stress, complaints, lamenting, absenteeism, presenteeism, decreased performance. What measure do you have of measuring the performance in your institution? More complaints and grievances, etc., etc. Now, this one are the identification of organization that struggles with stress. Now, let me give you this that you will identify by yourself. How will you know that I am struggling with stress? Personal identifiers. How will you know that you have stress? I want everybody, when you get out of those two doors, you know that I am full of stress or I'm a little bit managing. Number one, tiredness. You know, nowadays we have people, you get in the office at 9 a.m., 9:30 in the morning, you have miayo like nothing. 9:30 in the morning, like if it's in the evening. Tiredness, lack of sleep. I get a lot of people tell me, I can't sleep until when I have 1 Serengeti or 2 Serengeti, then I can sleep. You can't sleep. You can't sleep. You must do something to sleep. It's not nature. Nature, we are created by God. When you're tired, you need to sleep. When you get to bed, you need to sleep. When you see some struggles to sleep. Now, we have two types of people when it comes to sleep. There are those who go to bed and they will sleep right there. And the sleep will just cut and go away in a few minutes and you are awake. And there are those who go to bed, no sleep at all. And they will just have a deep sleep, half an hour, 2 hours before the day. And those of you who do not know how to sleep well, go and Google the University of Columbia. They've come up with a research called Why Do We Sleep? University of Columbia. And imagine, 3 cancers they have identified that are relating to people who do not sleep. And they've done that quantitative research to people who sleep less than 6 hours. Bladder cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer. Just because of sleeping. And imagine, those people who sleep less than 6 hours, men, their testosterone is getting older than them, 10 years older than them. So if I'm 40, my testosterone level is 50. If I'm 45, my testosterone is 55. That's why we have a lot of people who, outside they look superb. 4x4, 4-wheel drive off-road. When you look at them. When you go back to talk to their wives, it's another story. A lot of stress and lack of sleep. Decreased performance quality of work, increased smoking, drinking, and substance abuse, rapid weight loss and weight gain. Now, this is it's a research. Stress increase the weight of a woman, not a man. Those are good news for men, eh? Stress increase, when you're stressful, we know scientifically when you're stressful, the body releases cortisol, and when you're so much in cortisol, you crave fat and sugar. And with women, when you have that, the metabolism process goes down, and nothing goes where it's supposed to go, and you become voluminous. When you're voluminous, when you go to Vikoba or some other people, they know that God has blessed you, so they want to kopesha like Kimbili have. You understand? Instability in sex and instability in sleeping. That's about change. Remember I told you that's about stress. I told you stress is related with change. Now, I will just talk a little bit about change. I've told you there are some circumstances that stress can cause change in your life. And there's some circumstances that change in your circumstances can cause stress. Now, every change is having 2 forces, especially organizational change. Change that happens with your firm, it will be forced. It has 2 forces: internal forces and external forces. Internal forces, things like attitude, people who works in that organization, culture, leadership, events, structure, system, missions, goals, values within the organization, within your firm. Those are the things that can influence change within there. Then we have external forces. External forces, we know, politics. We are in the country, most of the countries in Africa, one political decision can change everything. And some of us here, we know some regime change affects our firms. Some of our firms will blossom because they have clients who are good in the government. Some of the firms, ICU, grave. Because of the regime change, politics, technology, economy, competitions, customers, social media, social structures. Those are external forces that will force change in your firm, in your organizations. Now remember, with you, because some of you have clients who comes from certain organizations. You have your client, maybe it's a bank or whatever. These forces of change that impact that client can also impact you. I've seen regime change, clients are affected the economy, and they tell you we can no longer work with you because we cannot pay. Change, influence, change. Okay. What about conflicts? We have said stress can cause change causes stress, change can cause conflict, stress can also cause conflict. Now, let's have a little bit of an understanding about conflicts. We live in the world where we have conflicts. Conflicts within ourselves, conflict with people, conflict in relationships, conflict with our children. For the past 5 years, most of the cases that comes for counseling are people having a lot of enmity with their parents. Daughters hate their mother. Sons have big quarrels with their fathers. I don't know what is happening. Conflicts. Now we have 3 types of conflicts. I'll start with the third one. Intergroup conflict. This is a conflict between departments, directorate, firm and a firm, company and a company, group and group. That's an intergroup conflict. Then we have number 2, which is interpersonal. Conflict between. Interpersonal conflict is a conflict between people. You and your girlfriend, you and your ex, you and your husband, you and your boss, you and your colleague. That's interpersonal conflict. Those of you who did language, you know, inter is a suffix, is a prefix. Intra, which is also very sensitive, intrapersonal conflict, these are the conflict within. The conflict that is happening within yourself. So most of the time, kuna watu tunagombana nao na kuwaona kama tunashindana nao wanatukera, kama tu realize wenyewe wana mgogoro na wenyewe. Yaani wewe una mgogoro na wewe, ndio maana unasababisha mgogoro na sisi. Many people who cause interpersonal conflict, they have intrapersonal conflict. Now, I'll give a bonus. Some of the intrapersonal conflict are caused by childhood issues. Now let me become a psychologist a little bit. They are caused by childhood issues. You know, when we come here in the AGM with our suits and blazers and everything, we only know the time when you were together at the university. Nobody knows about your history. But some of us here, we were not loved by our parents. Some of us were ashamed. Nobody were proud of us. And we are struggling. We think that we're struggling to push your firm, but you're pushing to prove somebody wrong. To prove your daddy wrong. To prove somebody in your life who told you will never amount to nothing. You want to prove that. And we think that you're becoming a hard worker. It's not about institution. You want to prove somebody. And you will have always the intrapersonal conflict within yourself. Some of us are marrying people that are already corrupted from the industry, from the maker, and the sensitive age is 4 to 12. Watch out the age. Just dig down. What happened in your life between 4 to 12? What is happening with your child between 4 to 12? Why? Because it is determining their intrapersonal conflict tomorrow. That's where we have people with a lot of rigor when it comes to midlife crisis. Why do you think divorce is happening at a certain age? Midlife crisis. Why midlife crisis? Childhood issues. Why? Intrapersonal conflict. That's why I have some people, he's divorced here. Somebody else want to come and stay there. They will leave them. You can't leave them. You can't stay. And they'll tell you, Taniweza kweli mimi. Tanimudu. Because they know themselves. They are full of intrapersonal issues it disturbs their relationship skills. Okay. What are the sources of conflict? What are the sources of conflict? Number 1, I want it my way. Have you ever worked with this kind of people? They want it their way. It is either my way or So we got this kind of people. It's either my way or no way. You will accept their point no matter what. Some of them, we call them dominant personalities. They're dominant. They want to. Dominant people, my friend. It's hard in relationships. Number 2, differences in goals and ambition. Somebody will work hard to prove somebody wrong. Another one works hard to boost the firm. 2 different ambitions. Personality conflicts. An introvert is competing with an extrovert. A sanguine is bruising with a melancholic. A phlegmatic is just fighting with another. It's impossible. Personality is not a sin, it's not a weakness. It's how we are created. How can we merge the efforts and push the life together and not counting it as a weakness? Personality issues. Power issues. You know, there are those people, they want cheo. They want to become somebody. You go to the firm and they tell you, oh, tukuta hapa wewe. Sisi, tulikuwa hapa sisi. Tukuta mtaondoka tuje, tutatuacha hapa. Power issues. You'll always have conflict with this kind of people. Stress grounds. There are some people who are not so much careful in managing stress, and they cannot manage their family stress. They pour the stress out in the office. Or they take stress in the office, take them at home. So it brings conflict. Now, listen, there's something that I want you to learn. This is what we say. Not every conflict is harmful. Not every conflict. For those of guys who we are teaching them organizational psychology, we train them whenever they see no conflict in the organization to induce conflict. Because when the organization doesn't have conflict at all, it lacks, it's stuck behind. So we train them to induce. So the problem is they love skills to induce conflict. They don't learn skills to manage. So when they induce conflict, they say, Dr. Chris, come and help me. The conflict is big in my organization. You induce it, you need to manage it. So if not every conflict is harmful, so some of the conflict you don't need to bother about them. Let them continue. But not this. There are some conflicts that are so jeopardizing your organization or your family. If you are in the organization, in your firm, or in the firm that you're working with, and you are a leader there, how will you know that this conflict is harmful and I need to work on it ASAP? Number 1, if that conflict removes people from seeing the reality. If that conflict removes people from seeing the reality, that conflict is harmful. Number 2, if that conflict kills team spirit, I'm not so much sure how do you guys work in the legal grounds, but ILO says we are leaving the era of working as individuals in corporate. We are going to work as teams. So in any conflict that kills teamwork or team spirit, that is problematic. You need to work on it. And number 3, if that conflict brings frustration and dissatisfaction among people. Then last, if the conflict disturbs relationship at work. There are some conflict, they are there, but they don't disturb relationship. People continue to work very well, no problem. That conflict is not harmful. But if it kills and touches the relationship, you need to work on that. You need to work on that. Now, let me go to effect, then I'll go to management, then I'll finalize. What are the effects? Dr. Cook will come talk more about that. But look at this research. Look at this research. Let me tell you, by creation, a human being was not meant to store, to bank negative emotions in their body. The doctors will come and tell you more. By creation, a human being was not created to bank, to store negative emotions inside. And some of us, we don't know that. Tunafikiri kuweka masumu ndani yetu ndio ujiko. Unakuta mtu anamwambia, shosti, mimi nikikuweka hapa, sikutoi. Yaani nikikuweka hapa, sikutoi. Wewe unafikiri ni sifa. Look at that. Look at anger. Unforgiveness. Inaua nini? Liver. Sasa imagine, pombe hunywi, si mlevi. Unakuja kupata shida ya liver kwa sababu ya kutokusamehe. Sisi ungelala bado. Tujue moja. Just because you don't forgive, just because you deal with anger. Look at grief. You know grief? Grief is when you lose something big in your life. lose something, house, car, that you are so much connected. People we love. Husband, wife, kids, close friends. You dwell with grief. And imagine grief disturbs your... That's where we have respiratory diseases, the pneumonia, etc., etc. Then look at worry. Worry. That's where we have people with ulcers, constipation, large intestine. Worry. There are some people who are worrying everything. They worry everything. She's in a marriage and say, what if nikiachwa? She has a job. What if nikikosa wateja? You are worrying in everything. And we have a lot of people with ulcers nowadays. Ulcers seems like ugonjwa wa style. You go somewhere, eat like this, like, no, man, I don't eat that. I have ulcers. It's like if for those of us who don't have ulcers, so smart. It's like us, I have ulcers. I have ulcers. It's like, stress weakens your brain and your heart. That's where we have a lot of cardiovascular stuff. And look at fear. Do you know that, maybe the doctors will tell us the truth, few years ago in Dar es Salaam, we had very few dialysis centers. Do you see the way they grow now? Do you see they're almost everywhere? What is it? Like nowadays you find somebody, they have something here. I'm attending dialysis. Why? Why? Why our community is so much into kidney issue nowadays? Okay, so how can we manage? If you want to manage it well, now, let me talk to leaders. Those of you who are leaders in your firms or in your department, or whether in government or in private, if you are a leader, make sure you become, we call them wellness-centric leaders. Or wellness-centric leader. A leader whose focus is not only on the profit or on your growth on your organization, but also the affair of people. Motivate them. Talk good with them. Relate with them. Participate in their personal issues. Understand? That's how we become wellness-centric leader. A wellness-centric leader, they care about their wellness and they care about the wellness of the people they lead. So make sure you start that way. It will help you. But then, at a personal level, you cultivate what we call resilience. Resilience. It will help you. Resilience will help you to deal with conflict. Resilience will help you to deal with change. Resilience will help you to deal with stress. What is resilience? If it was in a car, resilience is a shock absorber. You know shock absorber? You know shock absorbers? Some of them call them shock absorber. Yeah. That's why the shock absorber of a Raum is different from a Harrier. The shock absorber of Harrier is different from Lexus. The shock absorber of Lexus is different from... Why are the shock absorbers different? Can you take the shock absorber of the big car and put in a small car? It's different, even if you have money. Why? The car was originally not designed that way. So, the car is built, and us, resilience, you build resilience. How? Encountering issues. Sustaining tough times, dwelling into floods. You don't choose to be a pawpaw tree, you choose to be a bamboo tree. What's the difference between a pawpaw tree? A pawpaw tree, when the floods comes and the wind, it flocks down and the pasuka. The baobab tree, when the flood comes, it will sleep like if it is dead and will never rise again. When the flood's over, it rises up like number one. And that's how you need to build your resilience. I know some of our resilience were disturbed when our childhood, growth, your first boss. Most of our first boss disturbed our resilience. You're so much eager to get a job in a certain firm just after your graduation. And here you have a boss. And you say, is he a boss or a monster or a devil? You come to realize is all three combined. Our first boss, that kills our resilience a lot. And after that, in every boss you go, you become so scared. Why? Because you think every boss is that boss. And this boss is telling you, what are you doing on Friday? You will come at my home for barbecue. You say, who? Me? Barbecue? Never. Resilience is killed. 2 types of ways to reduce stress. This will help you. Number 1, by avoiding situations that you perceive as stressful. Some of us, we go into stress because of some people that we circle ourselves with. You know, kabisa, this friend is stressful, is negative, is toxic. And na wewe shosti, uje Jumamosi. No. Get away from those kind of people. A toxic friend will give you toxic environment. Negative emotion is continuous and is impactful. All negative emotions are the same. So don't circle yourself. There are people I teach them, we call it phone book audit. I do that almost 2 or 3 days after finishing my holidays every December. Check my phone book and I don't need to stay with toxic people. Delete. Why? Because a corrupt mind corrupts another mind. Number 2, becoming better in dealing with stressful situations. Now that is where we call stress management versus resilience. So number 1, you run away from circumstances that are stressful. Kuna magomvi mengine si yako, usiyaingilie. Hata mimi nitakusaidia, nitakuwepo. You have my back. Not every back is yours. Not every back is yours. Kuna magomvi waachie wenye magomvi yao wanajuana. Mara nyingine unaingia unashangaa wamepatana wao, wewe umebaki kwenye ugomvi. Wanakuuliza hivi na yule uliingia na vipi kwenye ugomvi, mkamuulize. Get away from the situation that are stressful. Acha kujitakia stress za maisha zenyewe zinakutosha. Are we together? And number 2, you strengthen your muscles. You build your muscles like a gym person, strengthening your muscles to deal with stress and to deal with. Are we together? Are we together? How do you manage conflict? Understand that we are different. Don't force people to believe your way. Understand we're different. We're different, coming different background, different education, different tribes, different faith, different parents, different everything. Some of you come from Mboga Saba, some of us, we come from Nomboga. We are different. So whenever we are in a law firm, we share a building. We don't share thoughts sometimes, but we need to discuss. So that's why we have agreeing to disagree. Are we together? So don't force us to agree with your point. No. Mimi point yangu nimesema kama mnitaki mimi naondoka. Understand that we differ. Are we together? We differ. We differ. Be effective listener. Now, I train effective communication. Majority people, they listen to answer. And we don't do that. We listen to understand. How will you know that this guy listened to answer? Umewahi kuongea na mtu afu wakati unaelewa kwamba nishaelewa nakoenda. Nishaelewa. Shajua unakoenda. Umeshakutana nawe? They listen to answer. Au mtu unaongea naye alafu unaendelea kuongea nakwambia okay, umemaliza? Hamna mtu anasikiliza hapo hata mmoja. Hamna mtu My PhD, I teach PhD thesis, no, those are not in thesis, a PhD by coursework. So my PhD class, I train them at a higher level of listening that no people are using that level of listening in normal conversation. We only use as counselors. It's called rewarding listening. Showing somebody that you're listening so that they can be sure that you're listening. In effective listening, if you're talking to somebody who is listening, hakemi hata macho hivi. Huyu hayupo, kashaondoka. Hayupo na wewe kabisa. So somewhere there must be some physiological reaction as you're listening. Either nodding or we call them minimal encouragers in counseling. So somebody doesn't shake anything in their body. It's like, hey, are we together? You will cause a lot of conflict if you poorly communicate. And learn to understand things in people's perspectives, other people's perspective. And last, understand that you will not always be right. Are we together on that? Understand that you will not always be? Yes. Don't force kingi. Sometimes you will be wrong. Now, we have people who think that they will not always be right. They will think they will always be right, so they hate criticism. You criticize them, they don't want it. No. If you're a leader, if you're a human being, You will make mistakes. So understand criticism. And you know, we have two types of criticism. Constructive criticism and non-constructive criticism. There are some people who will criticize you, not because of your point, because they hate you. And some people will criticize you, not because of your point, because they are a friend of somebody who hates you. But take constructive criticism. Accept that. I hate leaders who, when they receive constructive and non-constructive criticism, unapiga hatu mkwara. Angalia, hujajua ni muda mrefu hapa unajua. Unatuja kuconfirm. Accept constructive criticism. And maybe this will be my last slide. Okay, that's for leaders. That's my last slide. My last slide. I have 2 minutes, okay? This guy called Reinhard Niebuhr is a German guy. He came with this serenity prayer. Some of you, you've Googled it. It's a non-religious prayer. I use it when it comes to stress management, conflict management. And you can take it if you see it fit. Reinhold says, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Now let me tell you, friends, there are some things in life you'll come to realize you will never change them. The way you hustle, the way you want to change them, you will never change them. I meet people who want to change their husband. They want to change. Come to realize why Mama Mkwe was so happy during the wedding. It's because she was happy because you helped them take a burden. Sasa wewe unajaribu change ile burden. Wakati wao walikosa mtu wa kumpa ukaja wewe. Wakasema Mungu atupe nini? Nasema Mama Mkwe anakupenda kweli. Sasa mimi sina shaka na mama anajua umemwokoa. And now you want to change that guy. There are some things. I understand talking about transformation and people change. I believe in people changing. But let me tell you, whenever we live in some people in these farms and everything, when you see somebody change, they have decided to change. Sometimes it's not you changing them. People come to my station, I tell them, you know what? I know your firm brought here, and I recommend to them. But let me tell you, they will never change you. If you decide, you can change. And then people decide to change. So, whenever you meet circumstances that you cannot change, accept that I cannot change this. I leave it to my ancestors. Or to God, or to heaven. Then, Lord, give me the courage to change the things that I can change. And number 3, the wisdom to discern the difference. What is that? The wisdom to discern the difference. What does that mean? You know what to change, you change it. You know what not to change, you change your gear. Thank you very much.